And this is something you should see genuine bipartisan support for. This whole, like, stuff being reasonable size for, like, reading bills. Alright. Alright, here's what we got. Democrat Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez described the voting process of the new legislation that contained the COVID-19 relief funding as hostage-taking after lawmakers were only given a few hours to read the 5593 pages of text. Alright, so I was just talking about this earlier. They were given a couple hours. So let's just give them benefit of doubt and say it was 4 hours. You can probably read about four pages an hour. Like, I'm assuming this is legislation stuff, so it's probably pretty dry. Like, it's not Harry Potter. You can't just flip through the pages pretty easily. Like, you're falling asleep while reading it. So let's say 4 pages an hour. You probably, like, assuming that's like stuff like this, like, you need 50 minutes to actually digest it and understand what you're actually voting on. So they might have, if they did their job, each representative might have gotten 20 pages. Let's assume, like, they're good at skimming or whatever. Like, you don't want a representative that's only skimming the legislation they're voting on, right? Like, they represent you. Like, are you willing to give up 20% of your paycheck to just skim whatever you're giving your money to? Absolutely not. So, let's say, like, let's just think about this. Like, how long would it take to actually read this legislation? So, with my number, we're gonna say 4 pages, an hour, 8-hour workday because it's a government, so you actually can only do your, like, 8-hour workday, or else we're paying overtime. And, you know, do you want your tax dollars going to someone that's just reading paper? So we have, what was it, 5593? 5593 divided by, here's the number that I got, 30. Why is my number? Is it 5597 or? Yeah, why did I think it was 97 before? Anyways, 186 days. So a piece of legislation of this size, it reasonably takes half a year for someone to just read over. This doesn't even include debating it. This doesn't include revision. Like, if you've worked on any, like, project at a business, like, every project has at least 5-6 revisions, and you have to, like, reread the thing to make sure, like, the changes doesn't affect your department or whatever. Like, I'm assuming, like, you know, if you're in Alabama and someone changes something for California, like, you eventually want to make sure that California provision doesn't, you know, significantly affect you, and you need to make sure, like, it's reasonable what's going on. So at best, any representative that voted for this should be liable, should be personally liable. Additionally, they're willfully ignorant because they had the ability to vote no, and, you know, and as their justification be, like, I didn't even have time to read this. So final text was released. The House vote took final text was released only Monday afternoon. House took vote 9:08. So I'm assuming that, I don't know. Alright, we'll adjust our 20 pages to 40 pages, because let's say they passed it at noon and they got, like, 9 hours. Like, you're not reading it right up to the minute, but, like, it's stuff. Vote Chambers overruled despite her objection. So, here's my issue with AOC on this. And, like, I really like that she's AOC on this. I appreciate her bringing up the issue. Because this is something that happens in every single piece of legislation, where people just throw in a ton of crap into their bill, a bunch of earmarks to get, you know, let's get the mail service in Ohio added onto this bill for COVID relief that has nothing to do with what's actually trying to get passed here. Why did she personally vote in favor of something she doesn't know? And I don't mean this in like the sense that she doesn't understand like economics or politics or anything like that. She passed legislation that, for all she knows, says that every single constituent she has is no longer a constituent of her and is now in Alabama. It's something stupid like that. She doesn't know what's in this bill, and how can she willfully say that she isn't for it? How can you be in favor of... I rewrote that. And this is what she needs to be held accountable for. And not just her, like, not just hold her accountable. Every single member of Congress, except those that voted no, which I'm assuming it's like probably single digits, probably all Republicans who didn't even object for it on the grounds of like it was too long. They probably objected on the grounds of like this is obnoxiously long. I might be surprised. Actually, like, let's look at who voted no and why. Let's actually look into that. I'm assuming the only issue we had were Republicans that said like this is affecting debt and that kind of stuff. I would argue these people are voting to spend your money on stuff that they didn't even read. And that's their whole job. If you and I did this at our job, we would have been fired on the spot. And what I appreciate is her at least admitting to it. How many people in Congress are right now like getting patted on the back because they passed this legislation that they have no clue what's in it? Like, this is an insult to us. Near around tweet, I was saying that the person of the bill would make illegal video stream. Like, and that's what I talk about the earmark. Like, random earmarks included illegal video streaming, now a felony. What does that have to do with your COVID relief? Absolutely nothing. This is why Congress needs time to actually read this package before voting it. Once again. Read this package before voting on it. The issue is that, why did you vote yes? And this literally needs to be asked to every single congressperson. Like, I don't care, like, if, like, at the end of the day, we can do a full analysis of the, actually, we can't do it at the end of the day. It's at the end of, I guess at this point it'd be June when we finally finish reading through it. But now in June, we can read through it, say, like, all right, everything's good, and then take a vote on it and hold, whoever, you're either for or against, and you hold your congressperson accountable to say they reflect, their constituents. But this is obnoxious. It's over 5 minutes, and we were told to vote it in 2 hours. All right. Oh, so it was 2 hours. So let's change our 40 pages to 8 pages. AOC said 2 hours. Not just by Alana, that the time for Republicans, not just by Alana, is just. There we go. It's not just members who need to see the bill ahead of time. Yeah, this is actually a really good point too. It's not just members of Congress who need the bill ahead of time. The public does. And the reason why is, like, I personally think, like, something that Congress people should do more often that they don't right now is some type of, like, polling of their constituents for passing stuff. Like, we can almost have this direct democracy where, hey, vote Matt for senator. And, instead of me actually voting a single time, or if there's anything that I think is even, like, remotely, like, 50-50, what I'll do is I'll set up a website that takes people's vote. They might need to put, like, a social security number or, I don't know, driver's license or something to, like, prove that they are an individual, and like this doesn't even need to be up to the same scrutiny as like our like actual elections. You know, like this is just a personal thing that like you aren't even required to do as a senator or congressman, but something you could just set up that says like, hey, if I poll my constituents and they like, you know, they're 70-30 for a bill, you know, okay, I'm gonna vote for it, and the whole justification for it is like, we're not even voting on my principles at this point, we're voting based on, you know, what my constituents said, and I represent them. If they want to do something like that, you know, like you could never set that up with one of these kinds of bills. Whoops. All right. Like, how does the public hold Congress people responsible, congressmen responsible for voting on these types of bills? Have been widely shared, including matters that have been a part of it, such as $600 payment, but the full bill contained measures that had not previously been widely shared. These include aid for several Alright, so... And this is what I was getting on with the earmark stuff. What does racehorse owners, sexual abstinence programs, and the Space Force have to do with your COVID relief? Absolutely nothing. And you know, like, I'm actually perfectly fine with government. Yeah, I don't know about the racehorses, to be completely honest. But if the government wants to invest in like some type of abstinence programs or the Space Force, you know, like we had NASA, like what's the difference? But why is this part of a COVID bill? And imagine how much easier it is for a Republican to say, hey, you know, I negotiated down from, you know, 2 trillion to 1 trillion, you know, look how good I am. And, you know, how great is it for, you know, a Democrat to say, hey, we got it. So it went from $600 to $1,000 for a family. Imagine how much easier that would be if you got rid of these dumbass programs and you actually debated the thing that actually affects people. And, you know, like, anyone would be perfectly fine with that. I think as an individual that, you know, wants the government spending less, I'd rather get the money back that I'm giving as a direct one-time payment, or, you know, I guess it's more of the money they're printing kind of taken from me in terms of like my 401k being worth less in comparison to like how much I can buy with it. You know, it'd be another topic. Lawmakers have debated COVID-19 really match thought the summer fall, but much prior to the final shape of the deal that made a patch of this government shutdown bill, including a vote in favor from AOC about to pass. Alright.